we are. Good morning. It's just gone 9 AM Eastern time, and I'm just going to go over my trading levels for today. And I'm just wondering whether you can see that really obvious head and shoulders pattern. I need to get my pen open. So I literally just opened the charts up for the first time a few minutes ago, and the first thing that stood out was this immediately. Potential shoulder, and we got the neckline probably around that area there. So slightly or a lopsided neckline. In fact, the neckline is the 200 moving average, so we could keep an eye. So basically similar levels to yesterday. If we do break this neckline or this area, let's just go to starting the daily for a second so we can see where we are. Okay, that's a good picture. So the daily, so look, we have been declining volume until yesterday, well, the last few days, where the volume's been increasing slightly. So you've had an increase in volume, but we've only had one green day, and that was an indecision candle as well. So increase in volume on potential red candles is something to just keep an eye on. Yesterday was a higher than average day if you compare it to previous days, and look at that, it came into the trend line which I talked about, touched it and tanked. In fact, I was there for that entire move down, and so it's looking like we've got a bit of a bullish candle yesterday, but still can't deny we're in this big uptrend, and we could potentially just be pulling back and eating time off the clock, waiting to break out over this weekly trend line. But higher than average volume, only just higher than average volume, increase in volume on these last 3 days kind of leaves me with a slight bearish bias, but I'm not going to be bearish at all. I think I just want to play the chart, and so I'm still looking for a potential breakout, and I'll be watching for another touch on this trend line and see where we get there. If we touch it again, we've only ever touched the trend line once and rejected, and previously we touched it. Let's go back. Last time we touched it once. Well, that's the start of the move. So, and then big reject. We've never touched it twice, and I'm wondering if we do touch it a second time, potentially, could that mean that we're looking for a breakout? When we came up there last time, we touched it, rejected, bigger rejection day, and then we kind of pulled back for a bit. So let's just compare volume. So extra high volume on that touch, which we had yesterday, and then we had decline in volume over the next few days on that pullback. So maybe watch for something like that. So if we start to see decline in volume over the next few days, middle of next week, then potentially, watch the volume going down, then potentially we might be seeing a bit of a pullback and then the drop down. So that's just going by what happened last time as well. Okay, so let's go into the hourly. And oh, look at that, we've had a bit of a, so we can see we got this left shoulder, head, right shoulder, potential right shoulder in place, and potentially this 200 moving average line can be our neckline as well. Doesn't have to, head and shoulders doesn't have to be a perfectly straight head and shoulders, but it's got the characteristics here. So level wise, assuming the head and shoulders pattern plays out, then I'm looking for a break, maybe a break and retest of that area there, which will be the lower right shoulder neckline area. So what we want to see, it come down, maybe go sideward breakthrough, come back up, and then break down. And then next target, we've got some levels in for targets as well. So let's just put in this area as a potential area to watch. So 45.60, 45.59, excuse me, break and retest of the 200 moving average, and we've touched it once, twice, 3 times this morning, but we've yet to break through. But how many times do we want to be knocking on that door before we finally go? So that's one play I'm watching for, the break and retest of the neckline of the 200 moving average. And I'll put my I like to put watches in place as well, so let's put a watch in that area just so I know when it's coming in. 45, 60, 50 is my watch. Is my alert. Next location, if we were to continue the trend up, then of course we could be looking for a potential bounce here as well. So, and that will continue this trend. You can see we've come down on the hourly. We're putting in hourly series, hourly high, hourly low, hourly high, and then potentially a hourly low as well. And so we've got an area, the daily area 45.64 area as a potential bounce area. And that's it really. It'd be a high risk bounce because it's close to where we are in the pre-market. And also I quite like the break and retest of 45.77. If I had to pick an area. Okay, so we've got a pivot, that pivot there. So this entire area, 45.78 through to 45.80 is a potential break and retest long to continue this trend up. And then that will invalidate this head and shoulders pattern as well, and it will be with the trend. And again, all I'm looking for with the trend is we put in a low there, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Bit of a hiccup there, I'm not sure, we can probably ignore that. We may continue up, we could see that formation, but we're still above the 200 moving average, and that's the important thing. While we're above it, we've still got to really remain pretty bullish, hence why I quite like the break and retest of that area. Okay, and then obviously if we come back up to the trend line, maybe we can scalp a rejection. You know, the first touch was the big move. Second touch maybe won't have the momentum, and obviously third touch will probably be the breakthrough, but you don't know. So this area 45.90 to 45.92 for a scalp or high risk rejection, and the break and retest of pre-market high. So in theory, by the time it gets up to here, if I caught the retest, I should be in long. And if we come down here, if we get down to this area, in theory I should have caught the short. So that's it really. There's not many areas, not many bounce areas which we can. If I had to pick a bounce area, a high probability bounce area, I still quite like this area, confidence. So 45, 45, 37, 40, 45, 36, 75, that area there. 45, 40 for a bounce. 4500 to 4507 for another bounce, and obviously like we talked about, we've got this void below, and if we do get below 4500 we've got a gap to fill. And you know, we filled the gap in SPX yesterday, and there's no reason why I can't fill this gap as well. So I think that's it. Apologies for the humming and ahhing because I've only just got home and I've only just opened up my charts and kind of analysing it as I'm talking. Usually I'll have an idea what the market's doing and kind of an idea of what my plan would be hours before. But I quite like the break and retest of that area there. So we'll see what the next few hours candles give us. So did we have news today? So today we had 8:30 news. Quite a lot of news at 8:30. We got more news coming. 9:45. So be wary after the open. 10 AM. And that's it really, nothing major. So 9:45 and 10 AM. So what happened today at 8:30? Is that one there? Yeah. I always like to mark this news and put in a weighted VWAP as well, an anchored VWAP as well. Okay, so I'll keep an eye on that. The reason I put the anchored VWAP in, because then I can maybe use as a part of my, if I'm looking for a short, you can see it's area consolidation on the 5 minute. We may be looking for a quick scalp short there maybe, because the normal VWAP's down here at 45.68, but the weighted one and the what's it called, a anchored VWAP, which I always like to put on the data candle, and that shows me maybe what the smart money could be looking at. So it's broken down through it, so maybe we'll see what happens on the test of it. So 45.72 reject area, and by no coincidence it's an area of volume. We got the point of control coming through that area as well. So potentially look for a short at 45.72, and I'm going to put in another alert in that area. I'm going to see, but I'll be keeping an eye on that. So back to the hourly. 45.72. What's that area? So okay, that's that area from yesterday, which was this area of consolidation, which we tried to break on, was that Tuesday, and we rejected it. We definitely got through it, retest that level yesterday, come back down, and we're back down to that area again now. Okay, so sum up quickly, these are my levels. A secondary reject off of that trend line area, so between between 4600 and 45.92, so big area, so look for a confirmation candle. A break and retest long of the pre-market high, and then that will invalidate the head and shoulders pattern. Or if this head and shoulders pattern plays out and this shoulder forms, I quite like either a break and retest short of 45.60, and that'll be the break off the 60 moving average as well. So they're the real areas, and we had this higher risk area 45.72, area of confluence or consolidation, where we got it in between candles on the 5-minute chart around here, I think it was. And so potentially looking for a short, and that's obviously where the anchored VWAP is from that data candle, this entire area. And that's it. So let's just quickly look at SPY. So well above the weekly trend line. So it's into that area of supply as well, and it's rejected it quite nicely yesterday. And where are we now? We're right, it's an inside candle as well. So I forgot to mention that. We're at inside day right now as well, so be a bit wary of what you trade in, might not trade very well. So we're looking for a rejection at that pivot, 45, 459.39, and then for a bounce, I quite like that area, 453.31. Let's draw in the line, that area there, and that area there. So they're the two areas I'm really watching on SPY. Let's go to Qs. Not quite as defined head and shoulders pattern, but the same real. So you've got a big gap before we get down to the 200 moving average as well, and we've got this area of confluence just there. So we're watching for a bounce at 388.19, 388.20, break and retest of 391, 392 area, and a rejection of that pivot 394.16. Nasdaq. So this is the weekly. So it's broken over that pivot. It's looking pretty strong. Nasdaq. Although look at that on the weekly, decline in volume as we're pushing up. So that just looks like a pullback. And we're starting to a wide range. If you look at these bars now, wide range, smaller, wide range, smaller, like getting smaller and smaller with decline in volume. So it's losing its momentum. So potentially we could see a bit of a change of trend soon. So let's look at the hourly. Okay, so the 200 is close, so break and retest of the 200 moving average. Last time we were there, we tested it once, twice, tried again yesterday, and maybe knocking on the door for 4 times in a row will be the breakdown. And then retest of the 6100 pre-market high, break and retest long, and that's a good rejection, 6200 round number as well. Oil, how do we do for time? That's what quarter of an hour. Oil, we're still here. We talked about, as you say, inverse daily head and shoulders pattern. We're right in the neckline, so we've broken through yesterday. Now we're waiting for it to pull back. So I'm gonna put my alert around this area here. So basically that pivot on this one, and I may look to take a swing trade long on the pullback and the push up. But we are below the 50 still as well, so I've got to bear that in mind. How are we looking on the hourly? Nice hourly uptrend. Low, higher high, low, low. You could say, if you ignore that pivot, high, low, low, high, high, low, low, higher high, low, low, higher low, I meant higher high, lower low. Where do we go next? What's the volume doing? Increasing volumes, hard to tell on the hourly. Yeah, this low volume bar. That was early today. Yeah, one to keep an eye on. There's no real play here yet on the hourly. All I can think of is if we come back down into this area, again that's the same as we just discussed on the daily. We'll watch for the continuation. Potential, we've hit a double top there, and we've got a bit of a void here on the volume as well. So if we can get through this area, if we break out through that area, there's a bit of a void until we hit volume about here. And obviously the main point of control is further down, but we've got volume in this area of supply. So no, nothing really apart from that move. And gold, well, gold was strong yesterday. Look at that volume. More, I suppose it's been a quite a week anyway. Gold's back down at this area, so could go one of two ways. It can close below this 50 moving average, this yellow red line, and then it could work to fill this, close this gap, and then we could watch for a bounce at the gap fill. Or potentially what we're seeing is this formation, a flag pattern, and with a push back up. So I'm going to be watching for a potential breakout above 2060. Let's just draw in the trend line so we've got something. So we've got a rough area, you know, it could vary. You've got this, you could have a channel as well. In fact, if I were to clone that, how's that? It doesn't quite, it sits on those two pivots there, but not quite the last one. But it's an approximation. So this is could be what we could be watching for something like that, and then watching for this to narrow down before making a decision. My bet would be that way, because we're in an uptrend, but there's no reason why it wouldn't come back down as well. But it's got to get below this 50 moving average. So keep an eye on, I think, the breakout over that pivot, 2064, 2068, break and retest long. I know I said break and retest a few times here, and we've missed all the retests, but generally we do get a bit of a pullback if you go back a few days. So I wouldn't stress if we do miss it. So looking for the break and retest long, that's probably the area, and the number is 2066. And that's it. Market opens in 9 minutes, and let's just see where we were on the 5-minute chart. Okay, so I'm going to go with my decent trade. I took this trade yesterday. I took the break, I took the rejection up here, and my out was, I think it was about, it was there, was my out, around about that area, I think it was. So not a bad move. Or was it? No, that's exactly it, yeah. And then when I came back in the evening, I saw it came back down here. I thought, oh, so maybe I should have looked to reload on the touch of that moving average and the VWAP as well. But ads is something I'm going to be working on over the next few months. I did a good ad yesterday there, but I'm going to start back testing ads as well and see where the good best places are. So looking at today, if we were to use the data candle as a typical as a strategy, what fund I'm looking at is to go short if we get up there, or short on the 50% of that candle. That's kind of what I'm watching, but I'm kind of back testing this. Yeah, I'm not going to do any trades, which is not part of what I just discussed a few minutes ago. So just to recap on the hourly again, I'm watching for this head and shoulders break and retest, which is that area there. Let's put a trend line in so we can see it. I'm not sure if I draw that in, it would be almost to the dot. Look at that. So that's our head and shoulders neckline. So I'll keep an eye on that. So watch for the break, the retest, and the short. So that's what I'm waiting for. Break and retest off the pre-market high, and then the rejection of the trend line or this area of supply. And the last time we came up there, we saw this big move down. So there's no reason why we wouldn't see another move in that area. A lot of people who were trying to get short probably didn't get short, so they'll probably be waiting for a second chance. Okay, that's it. Thank you for watching.